And my name is Omar Perkins Jr. I am a positive psychology practitioner. I am also a IBM certified engineer. I have a master's in public administration, as well as a master's in psychology and organizational leadership, and a master's in organizational leadership. I told you all those things not because that I'm bragging or to boast or because I am in so much debt. I told you all that information because today what we're going to do is we're going to merge positive psychology and tech today, right? We're going to merge a human centered, we're going to create a human centered approach to your AI, okay? And what we're going to do by that is kind of manipulating it into having some form of a emotional intelligence, okay? So let's go ahead and start off. We're going to go ahead and pull this up. And before we do that, let's go ahead and just address the elephant in the room. When we talk about uh, AI and human centered, we think about things like how can we use AI and not AI use us? What we want to try to do is make sure that we're using AI as a tool. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm just pulling up the PowerPoint. We need to start thinking about using AI as a tool and being able to manipulate it for our use instead of having it using it for what the app is intended for. Because what I have found out is that being able to manipulate your LLMs actually help create a more it's not me creates a more emotional intelligent LLM. So I'm having a problem bringing up my presentation. So what I'm going to have to do is, I'm sorry, guys, it was just a little bit going on. I had to change computers midway, and now I had to sign in so I could get this PowerPoint. Um, but I'm actually in St. Louis, Missouri. And in St. Louis, Missouri, we are going through, and I'm also in the school system. We're going through a phase where we're trying to figure out how do we implement um, AI into our school systems. How do we figure out how to create a system so that students feel that they're not cheating or that the students aren't getting dumbed down? And in order to do that, what we have done is we have created more of a positive psychology framework for our students in St. Louis. I got to give me a second. I'm really trying to pull up this email address. Let me pull up this. So, okay. All right, I'm crashing now. Um, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pull up my presentation and just give me a quick second, guys. I'm so sorry. We're having a couple issues right now. Give me 1 second.
And folks, we had some difficulties coming in earlier, so Omar has had to switch things up on the fly a little bit. So we ask for just a little more grace with us as we get things aligned. Sorry again for the delay, y'all.
Okay.
Okay, how is that? Are you able to give us some audio, Omar?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm just trying to pull up the PowerPoint on my other one.
Okay,
Give me one
understood.
second. Not letting me share. Okay, so it's not going to let me share, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and we can go through it without the PowerPoint. And if it comes up, we'll take advantage, but if not, we won't. So when we think about positive psychology, we start thinking about Murphy's Law, of course. So when we start thinking about positive psychology, we start thinking about how to thrive in your well-being. When you think about psychology, you think about barriers. So you're thinking about eating disorders, you're thinking about deficiencies, you're thinking about depression, you're thinking about those things. But in positive psychology, we say, okay, what if we fixed all those things, right? What is the next step? How do we thrive? And this is when we talk about mental health and mental well-being. So when we think about those things, what we have done is we have created the three pillars of positive psychology in AI. So we call it positive AI.
Folks, sorry for that one again. That one I think is that one I think is on me. So apologies there. I'm messaging with Omar right now, trying to get him back in. So we got you on screen, Omar. Just looking for the audio this time. Hoping we can get that.
How about now?
Okay, yes. So I'm not going to touch it at all this time. That last time when you were, I saw there were two of you. I was trying to just get one of you in there. So apologies on my side. Let's roll with it like this.
Hey, it's more than one way to skin a cat, right? So I got you on two screens, one without my vision and video, I mean, an audio, and one with just the vision with no audio. So we good to go. We just gotta,
Thank you.
we have to be able to be productive at the same time. We have to think critical. So with that being said, let's get back into it. So we were talking about the three pillars of positive psychology and how we try to incorporate those inside of our LLMs. And what we do how we do that is we create a growth mindset. And what that means is we know as tech people, but there are some people that do not understand that how LLMs and how uh, artificial intelligence works. We know that some of us know that LLMs are pretty much just predictors. They pretty much are what I try to help people to understand is they're pretty much just your auto text for life. So if you would think something like at the end of the email, I write 1,000 emails a day. At the end of my email, if I put THA, no matter what, it's going to put NKYOU. But I might not want to say thank you. I might want to say that's all, folks. So you have to understand that with the growth mindset, that you're not always going to get the prompt right, and that's why we had to iterate, iterate, iterate. We have to understand that growth mindset means that if it's giving you hallucinations, that you might have to do something different in order to get the output that you want. But this is where it comes with that human-centered approach. Even though it's giving you something, even though it's giving you an output that you might think is right, it's still up to you as a human to make sure that that is what you want. You have to manipulate it to what you want. And we'll get into those here shortly. The second one is learned optimism. We have to understand by working with these AI tools that they are moving at the speed of light. So what that means is if you learned something last week and you got your certificate about something last week, that it might not still be relevant now. But that's where the learned optimism comes in. When you start saying, okay, it's not relevant now, but how do I manipulate it so that that same avenue, that same method that I learned can now be applied into this LLM. And then we have the last one that I think is the most critical, and that's critical thinking. Common sense is not common, folks, right now. Okay, it's not common. Common sense is not common. And with that being said, you have to think critical. And this is where I say we need to use these tools in order to build communities. Right now, we're going to see the biggest social economical gap that we're ever going to see in our life. And it's not going to be a gap from from cassette tapes to CDs. It's going to be a large gap. It's going to be a gap from beta VHS tapes to Netflix. And that's a large gap. And what I mean by that is if we don't understand and how to create these LLMs so that they're working for us and that they still have that positive mindset, then we're not going to be able to get into the agentics and when we have all these things going autonomous, because we're going to someday somehow we're going to say we need to take back. And when we say that, we're going to have to understand how to work those generative tools. With that being said, when we start creating and start using these LLMs, we can start implementing how we want it to think. And how I came up with this is because I used to have a positive psychology firm. And what we did was we went out to communities and we helped young men uh, create life plans. And from the life plans, before we did that, we did 3 weeks of positive psychology. And in the 3 weeks of positive psychology, we applied those three same pillars um, that we call our three pillars of positive AI. We applied those to our students. And for 3 weeks, they learned about grit and they learned about perseverance and they learned about growth mindset and learned optimism and critical thinking. And what they did were they were able to we were able to create them plans that they were able to use in their life. So we would have students that would come in before the 3 weeks and they would say something like, "What is your plan?" And they would say something like, "Playing NFL football or being a millionaire." After the 3 weeks, they were understand that they were able to correlate that with the growth mindset and the learned optimism and the critical thinking, that you have to do things before you can create, before you can attain those goals. And so what they did was, from the first time that we asked them what their goal was, which was to make $1 million, by the end of the 3 weeks, their goal was to get an A in geometry because they have a C. Because they understand in order to make the $1 million, is things that they had to put in place in order to get to that place. And I used to sit down with the students. It was about 40 of them. We would do this maybe 3 times in the school year, so it'd be about 40 students. And I would sit down with each student after the program, and we would ask them certain questions. What resonated with you with the positive psychology? What do you think that you would want more of in positive psychology? What skills do you have now? What is your plan? How long is your time frame for your plan? And do you want any mentorships or any internships? And I would sit down with a student for 45 to 50 minutes, and we would get all this information. It used to take me a day to create this plan. From this plan, they would then be able to go out and work the plan. But what happened is lives, right? So they would come to me weeks later and say, "Mr. Perkins, you had me down for this mentorship. I have a barrier. I can't get to that mentorship." Or, "Mr. Perkins, I have work now. I can't get to those tutoring classes. What do we do now?" And that's when we start learning about generative AI. I was not aware what generative AI was. A computer science teacher came down and talked to me, and he was calling it chat, and I had no idea what it was. This was about 5 years ago when it was very, 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 very fresh. And he told me, he said, "The way that you're asking these kids questions and the time that it's taking you to create these plans, you can create some prompts that will be able to help you significantly," right? And what we did was we created 6 prompts that we were able to give the students after the 3 weeks of the positive psychology, that they were able to actually manipulate the LLM in order to have a positive psychology output. So we created, of course, those prompts, but we put it in a command so that it became a large prompt. So if a student I would ask the student those 6 questions, and he would say something like, "Well, what resonated with him was the growth mindset aspect, and what he would like more of is to learn how to do more team building for his for the what he wants to achieve for his goal would to be to get an A in geometry, and I have a C." What skills or positive psychology examples do you have that could help you with attaining that goal? The time frame, of course, we asked them how long it would take them, the time frame, and then any mentorships and internships. And I'm gonna tell you, when I used to do the mentorships and internships, I'm a human, so I would always send them to somewhere like the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA. Well, all of those things wasn't conducive to the students. As far as the mentorships, it wasn't conducive because in those marginalized communities that we were working with, one of the main barriers was transportation. But now we're able to use these LLMs in order to be our tools so that we can move things faster by saving us time, but also get more information that a human could not get. So what we did was we created a prompt that we would use in our class, and it would start like this. We would give it a persona first. First, we would give it a persona. So we created we created the 5 commands for a perfect prompt, but I don't want to sell it, but I have to give it to you real quick. Act as a persona, give it the command, give it the context, give it an example, and give it the format you want it back in. So a student will be able to say, "I'm the student that wants to get an A in geometry, would I have a C?" I would say, "Act as a life coach that specializes in creating life plans for students in high school. My I I My strong suit is growth mindset. I would like to work more on team building. My goal is to get A in geometry, and I would like to finish this by the next semester, which is 8 weeks. And I would like to give it back to me in the format in a bullet point. It will create it all for them. Now they have a plan in hand that they're able to go for, that they're able to go out in the world and work. But this is the best part about it. It can change in real time. So instead of that student coming back to me and saying, well, Mr. Perkins, I have a job now. I can't get to the tutoring. Not a problem. Tell it. It'll help it. It will be able to know your background with your all of your previous traits and all the things that you have attained and all the things that you want to attain. It will be able to manipulate or create another plan close to the one that you have that will work in now your job and your tutoring. Also, another good part about doing it this way is you're able to use LLMs to be those barrier blockers. So when I say a student can't get to a mentor because he has a barrier where he can't get to the other side of town, you can actually manipulate your LLM to become your mentor by saying, and I give my students basic quotes. Act as a mentor. Be more like Mr. Perkins, who is hard but still holds you accountable, and give me information about blah 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 as far as the mentorship. And these students are able to talk to these LLMs about what they're going for next. So if someone is wants to, because I work at a tech school. So if a student were to have a job, it will be in some type of a tech. And what's good about this is they're able to ask their LLM questions like, what do I need to wear on my first day? If they don't have that soft skill, these are just things that can help them out. And if you build your LLM in a way that you're able to be in a more positive and a more critical thinking way, it gives you more of a plan that you're able to successfully complete. And believe me, we've used prompts that we didn't train the LLM to have that positive mindset, or we also have done use cases that we've seen that by not telling them what we're good at and what we want to get and what we want to get better at, it doesn't give us a plan that is formative to what we want as our outcome. So as far as creating a LLM that you're able to manipulate to have positive emotions, what you do is you have to first know about the positive psychology, and if possible, give it more information on PERMA, which is positive emotions, engagement, uh, relationships. I'm sorry, I had a mental fog. Meaning and achievement. If you can give it that base, give it that foundation, when it gives you outputs, I'm telling you, it's going to be different from your other LLM that you don't use. Okay, let's just say that you're using an LLM for deep research. That might not be the one that you train in order to have that emotional intelligence. Now, if you're doing research on some human aspect, then yes, I would use that LLM, but you can create your LLMs in order to do and to have the persona of what you want it to have. And in 2025, we really need to start thinking about more of thriving. They just had a study that shows that more people are more in tune to violence than they are to love. And those are my PG versions of it. But with that being said, it's going to become a time where emotional intelligence is not going to be common sense. We're going to come to a time where the human aspect is going to not be needed, but it's going to be felt. And what I mean by that is we're going to get to a time where so much stuff is going to be automated that we're going to start getting disheartened, and we're going to start not feeling that same emotional connect. You already have people that working from home and don't get to interact with people. All those things play into our psyche. So if we're using an LLM that does not have a positive outcome, then 9 times out of 10, you won't have a positive outcome by trying to complete what your outcome is. I'm going to open it up because I see we have a couple more minutes left. I'll open it up if we have any more. If you have any questions, I really wish I could have gotten that PowerPoint to you, that deck to you. What I'll do is I'll probably just put the deck in the actual chat, and we can go from there. I surely appreciate you guys. I'm so sorry for the malfunction, but like I said, it's more than one way to skin a cat. I got you going on 2 different sites, so we're good to go. Do you have any questions? I'll go back up and see who's in the
Yeah.
chat.
So Omar, we've got a question from Mia, and her question is, what are your thoughts on judiciously setting boundaries within LLM usage? And she's talking about the rise of AI-induced psychosis and how we can balance that with trying to make it interact with us more humanly.
It's one of those things that I'm glad that we're talking about that now, because don't forget that it seems like yesterday we introduced the social media aspect, and then many years later we start talking about screen time, right? So I'm glad that we're talking about these things now, even though AI is not new. As far as governors I believe that being able to that prompt engineering aspect of it is very, very, very critical. They have studies that shows that depending on how you prompt, the LLM can tell what race you are now, right? So it might give you some type of a hallucination because of how you actually typed. And the NLPs are recognizing our tone, they're recognizing our cadence, and those things are what I'm saying. That's why you have to start by using your LLM for a positive output first. And therefore, it might actually help you to govern exactly how you use your LLM. But I think it's just like with anything else, you're going to have to figure out when to use the LLM, how long you need to stay on the LLM, just like anything else. But I'm glad that we're talking about those things now before in 10 years when it's almost too late. You got a 2-year-old that's literally on a tablet, and when you take it away, they cry. That's what we're trying to stay away from. That's why we need to make sure that we're manipulating these LLMs to work for us and not to work for them. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for answering that question. And just I'm somebody who uses LLMs a lot. I use LLMs every day for writing code, and other folks who are in this session, they're using them daily too. Are you noticing wide variations? First of all, just between the different LLMs, first of all, and then with regard to the identity prompting that we're giving it. Are you seeing differences in how like Gemini would respond to it versus how GPT would respond to it?
I am, and we're actually doing a case study right now for language and which language does what with which LLM. And I think that even inside of each LLMs, you have the paid version and the unpaid versions. You get different outcomes as well. So I think that that's where that human centered aspect comes about, where you start to notice and recognize that, and you are using 1 or 2 or 3 different LLMs. I was a person that just used chat all the time at first, right? Because that was the new thing. But With my work, I can't use chat. I have to use Copilot. And I found Copilot can do certain things, not a lot of good things, but it can do a lot of things. I've realized that chat can do a lot of things, but then you got Gemini that's can do multiple things. And what I see is that depending on who has the beta first, whoever comes behind that beta is probably going to be the one that's going to be multi modules, right? So you have Copilot when it first came out. Well, I'm sorry, when you had Gemini when it first came out, it didn't have Canva linked into it. Now it has Nana Banana. Now it has VO3. I just read a report that they have a VO4 coming right before Christmas. But now so that was the VO3 part. But now you have on the back end, you have chat that just OpenAI that just came out with Sword 3. So it seems like it's going to be beta, whoever comes behind that beta. Then it's going to be another beta, whoever comes behind that beta. And technology is moving so fast. What they're trying to do is they're trying to figure out one LLM that can do everything. But I don't think that's going to be possible because it's just moving too fast.
Yeah, I think we end up what we're seeing is we're seeing the differences in how the LLMs are actually trained, and then how the underlying data sources that they're actually operating on when they're actually pulling in external data. But another kind of question or another comment on this is that folks are trying to find like the tools that kind of work best for what they do.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with this from the emotional or the psychological standpoint, because that's where your expertise is, and that's where a lot of the work that you're doing is. Are there particular channels where you're finding that different LLMs are working better? Like there's somebody in the chat, Antar, has said that he's trying to find one that works best for like resumes.
So it really just depends on what you're doing. So I literally just had a PD for professional payroll, and we did 2 workflows, and we did both of them in Gemini because that was for them, right? But when I do PDs for uh, law professionals, we use more of a chat because they don't need all the bells and whistles, right? It's more like I have a 500-page document. I need to be able to put this on a deck by tomorrow, right? Unlike the payroll people that are saying, okay, well, we just need to know what was the difference between last year's payroll and this year's payroll and the percentages. Well, they want that to look pretty. So you want an infographic. You can do all of those things in Gemini, right? You can get your infographic, and then let's just say that they're rolling something out, right? They're rolling out the new pay scale, right? And the new percentages of per taxes. Well, they want to put it in an infographic so that the average person like me that doesn't understand why I get taxed more when I get paid more can understand and see the small percentages. Unlike when you're working with law, fiduciary responsibilities and all these other things, it's just different. So it really just depends on what you're using. But this goes back to manipulating the way that you want to use it. I remember when Notebook, I'm sorry, I'm not to talk you to death, but here's a good one. I remember when Notebook LM came out and people didn't understand how to use it. And me and my business partner start using the audio overview because we drive a lot. So we will be able to have a meeting at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we will be able to listen to it on our way to our next convention. And then we'll be able to talk about it when we get to the convention, just to keep our minds sharp. And my business partner, who is brilliant, said, "Hey, Omar, how about we use this for advertisement?" I said, "Tell me more." He said, "If we manipulate the conversation to make it sound like we're selling what we do, when we do the audio review, the podcast version, they'll be selling us free commercial advertisement, and it's not our voices. I said, oh my God. Wow. Wow. Now they have it so that it's an audio overview now too. And he sent me something. He put the audio with it it's crazy. So, and Notebook LM is free. So it really just depends on what you want to do with it, because the tool is a tool. And what I tell my students is, I say, sometimes you got to cut stuff, but are you going to use a machete? Or are you going to use a Ginzu knife? It depends on what you're trying to do. You're trying to chop off a head, you need to use the machete. If you're trying to make sushi, you got to use a Ginzu knife. And that's the same thing it is with these LLMs. But guess what? A machete can also be used to chop wood. It can also be used to do a lot of other things. So it's really about figuring out what you need it for, investigating the actual LLM that you're using now, because it can probably do whatever you're looking for if you learn how to manipulate it.
And thank you for that. I'm going to stay more on the sushi side of the house, but I love that advertising example that you brought up. I mean, the creativity with how you're using this and how you're doing things is important. The other thing, or another thing that I've found, is that how you ask for stuff
Oh yeah.
impacts the answer that you get back. Right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And and so uh, and so along those lines, um, what are some of the if you have, like, tips for folks, right? Because we're trying to manipulate these things to get what we're doing. What are some of the tips that you have for kind of getting to closer to the things that you want?
Start small. Really, I know a lot of people are trying to get on this agentic push, autonomous push. I get it. I, I hate sending emails too. I do. Um, but I think that you have to start small, and starting small is using the LLM that you're using now and talk to it. Ask it what it can do. Literally say, what can you do? Here's who I am. This is what I do. What can you do? Right? This is what I use you for. What are the blind spots? How can I maximize you? And that's what people aren't asking. I haven't sat down with one person ever, and they said that the first thing I do is ask it what it can do. Nobody's ever done. I sit with people every day, and I have not sat with one person that said, the first thing I did, Omar, was I sat on there and I said, what do you do? What do you do well? This is what I do. How can you help me? What are the blind spots of how I'm using you? I don't think that people go into it like that, because I think that most people, that they either think they know what it can do, or they feel like, okay, I don't even know what to ask. So what I would say do is, if you playing with an LLM, and most people are, ask it what it can do. What was it made for? Say, what are you made for? Literally. And how can I maximize you? Because truth be told, every LLM wants to maximize you because they just want information. These things are machine learning. All they want to do is learn. So if you tell it that you want to use it, the how, and maximize it, it'll tell you. It will tell you.
I'm also interested to know, do you have, how on some of the different platforms you can have identities stored, so to speak, or like, your use case prompts kind of already stored and continuing to work, in the background and stuff. Are you using these platforms that way? Are you running things, on your own? Like, how are you typically interacting with them?
So this is the thing, Larry. It's moving so fast that as an AI strategist, I have to use everything. Now, How long do I use it? I use it until I feel like it's either it can do what I need it to do or it's just fluff. Right now, it's a lot of fluff, right? It's a lot of people that are creating apps that do the same thing another app does, right? But that app might do 5 different things and this thing does one. Um, so I have to use everything. So I have to be in N8N. I have to I have to do the coding. I have to do Python, JSON. I have to do all those things. But as far as anything working behind the scene, agentic and autonomous for me, yes. And let me tell you why. I sell products, and usually when you sell products, it's only going to do certain things for you. So if I sell you a book, you're going to get an email from where you bought the book from. And it's going to say, thank you, Larry Davis, for buying Omar Perkins' book. Well, I have to then send you out another nurture letter because I need you to buy that was a $27 book. I need you to buy my $15,000 course. So I got to send you nurture letters. I have to keep on sending you because I got to get you in the funnel. So I do use agentic AI for that because it's no way in the world that I will be able to send out those many emails. So I'm the guy that gets on your nerves, that you kind of unsubscribe me. Then I figure out how to get back in because, like you said, Larry, what am I using? I'm using everything. So I can't. Right now, we're at a point in time where I don't use it for a lot of the important things, but I do use it for my mundane tasks. Some days before I start using the agent, I used to wake up with 150 just trash emails. Now I have a agentic agent that I only see only the important stuff. Um, but at the same time, what I try to do is I try to go through the stuff that I don't see because it misses a lot too, because it's moving so fast. It's just missing things. So I have to go in there. Sometimes I'll miss an email from my sister because it sounds or picked up on one of the keywords that I said that I don't want. So that's where that human center comes in. I like to promote a lot of agentic things when it comes to repetitiveness, especially in businesses, but you still have to have someone accountable, and usually it's going to be you.
That's a good note for us to end on. Omar, I think that folks, they're sad that they missed out on the slide content. So there's a couple of requests in here for some direct emails. Can you drop in how folks
Yes.
can get in touch with you afterward? Uh,
Yes.
and and also just for everyone else to know. Uh, if you've registered for the conference, so there'll be an email coming your way with how to get a lot of the speaker content too. But I think that this direct communication is great. And thank you again for being here, and thank you for being willing to make this stuff available for folks.
First of all, let me say I'm honored and humbled to be here. I really do appreciate you all inviting me on this platform. I am so sorry. Please blame it on my mind and not my heart. I wasn't able to share the actual presentation, and it's a good one too, guys. It's a really good one. I got some gems in there. It's a lot of gems in there. You can reach me at Omar Perkins at LinkedIn. I'm the only one. Omar Perkins on LinkedIn. Go hit my DM. I'll send you not only look, since I messed up, since there was some problem. If you DM me, not only am I going to send you the actual deck, but I also send you the AI Made Easy Pocket Handbook. We usually sell for $27. I'm gonna give it away. If you DM me, I'll give it to you because I'm so sorry. You're going to get the deck as well as the pocket guide. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Larry, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you are welcome, and all of that technology failure blame, like, bro, you probably have like 5% of that. 80% of that is platform, and 15% is on me for pressing the wrong button one of those
No problem, brother. I appreciate it.
times.
Hey, the next time we do it, It'll be better. I'll have three computers.
All right. Thanks, folks. We'll see you in the next sessions. Thank you again, Omar.
Thank you so much, sir. Again, guys, I'm so sorry that but if you go on to Omar Perkins on my LinkedIn, I'm going to go ahead and send you the pocket guide as well as the deck. Again, I am so sorry. I appreciate you guys. Hopefully, you learned a little bit. Feel free to go on to LinkedIn, DM me if you have any other questions. I will definitely get back with you. If you're interested in learning more about positive AI, feel free to go on to LinkedIn. We can go from there as well. We also have the three keys to success. I didn't promote that, but they got the three keys to success. And in the three keys to success, we talk about expectations, infrastructure, and accountability. We take those three things and we put it into our into our companies as well as our lives, and we're able to show that those three things can not only build but actually change. So I appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much. I could stay on for another 5 minutes if you had any questions. Do y'all want me to go through the questions? Okay, somebody's been using perplexity. Okay. Nobody likes Copilot. Sasha, I'm gonna hit you up. Okay. Kenya, Leah, I see you. Alex, how you doing? While we wait, who's regularly using Gen AI tools? Man, I use them every day. Jamal, we back up. Oh, you don't trust conferences that have zero. I know that's right. Thank y'all so much. Check me out. A lot of you all, let's work together. Okay. I'm out. I appreciate you all. Like I said, check me out. Omar Perkins at LinkedIn. I'm gonna get y'all that free book as well as the deck. It won't be today, but I promise I'm gonna get it to you. It'll get to you on Monday. Tomorrow's the Sabbath. Thank you all so much. If you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. I'm sending the deck personally. So just if you're interested in the deck as well as the book, just go ahead and just DM me. Tell me that you was in the BitCon, and I'll get it to you. And it's all going to be electronic. So it's not an actual pocket guide itself. It's it's the only thing we keep in our pocket now is our phone. So it'll be able to be reached on your phone. All right, guys. I appreciate you. I'm gonna stay on here till 11 o'clock, just in case you have any questions or whatnot. Paid media strategist. And one person that said the first thing I did with Omar was I sat on there and I said, "What do you do? What do you do with it? This is what I do. How can you help me? What are the blind spots of how I'm using it?" I don't think that people go into it like that because I think that most people that they either think they know what it can do or they feel like, okay, I don't even know what to ask. So what I would say do is if you're playing with an LLM, and most people are, ask it what it can do. What was it made for? Say, what are you made for? Literally. And how can I maximize you? Because truth be told, every LLM wants to maximize you because they just want information. These things are machine learning. All they want to do is learn. So if you tell it that you want to use it, how and maximize it, it will tell you. It will tell you.
I'm also interested in knowing, do you have, you know how on some of the different platforms you have identities stored, so to speak, or like, your use case, prompts kind of already stored and continually work, with the background stuff. Are you using these platforms that way? Are you running things, on your own? Like, how are you typically interacting?
So this is the thing, Larry. It's moving so fast that as an AI strategist, I have to use everything. Now, how long do I use it? I use it until I feel like it's either it can do what I need it to do or it's just fluff. Right now, it's a lot of fluff, right? It's a lot of people that are creating apps that do the same thing another app does, right? But that app might do five different things and this thing does one. So I have to use everything. So I have to be in NAN. I have to do the coding. I have to Python, JSON. I have to do all those things. But as far as anything working behind the scene, agentic and autonomous for me, yes. And let me tell you why. I sell products, and usually when you sell products, it's only going to do certain things for you. So if I sell you a book, you're going to get an email from where you bought the book from. It's going to say, "Thank you, Larry Davis, for buying Omar Perkins' book." Well, I have to then send you out another nurture letter because I need you to buy that was a $27 book. I need you to buy my $15,000 course. So I got to send you nutrition letters, nurture letters. I have to keep on sending you because I got to get you in the funnel. So I do use agentic AI for that because it's no way in the world that I will be able to send out those many emails. So I'm the guy that gets on your nerves, that you kind of unsubscribe me, then I figure out how to get back in because, like you said, Larry, what am I using? I'm using everything. So I can't. Right now, we're at a point in time where I don't use it for a lot of the important things, but I do use it for my mundane tasks. Some days, before I start using the agent, I used to wake up with 150 just trash emails. Now I have a agentic agent that I only see the important stuff. Um, but at the same time, what I try to do is I try to go through the stuff that I don't see because it misses a lot too because it's moving so fast. It's just missing things. So I have to go in there. Sometimes I'll miss an email from my sister because it sounds or picked up on one of the keywords that I said that I don't want. So that's where that human center comes in. I like to promote a lot of agentic things when it comes to repetitiveness, especially in businesses, but you still have to have someone accountable, and usually it's going to be you.
That's a good note for us to end on. Omar, the folks that are sad that they missed out on the slide. I'm kind of request for some emails. Can you drop in folks get in touch afterward?
Yes.
And also, just for something else to know, if you're ready for the conference, so there'll be an email coming your way with how to get a lot of the speaker content too. But I think that this direct communication is great. And thank you.
Omar, hold on, because we want to talk to you. Hold on for a second. Aaliyah? Oh, okay. I want to make sure. Oh, shit. Girl, I thought you might be upstairs before I came all the way down here. Okay, so Omar. Oh, Omar, you did an awesome job, babe.
Oh, thank you, man. My damn slide wouldn't come up, man. I'm mad about that. And I was in there an hour early.
Privacy taking over the headlines, whether
Man, I was in there an hour early. We had problems the whole time I was in there, the whole hour. I don't even know what happened.
You humanized your presentation. It's okay. You're not AI. How about that? You're
right.
not.
Sort of be informed of. Right now, we have this big push to be.
You did wonderful. Yeah, Omar, you did did better expert.
Goddamn, I am, ain't
I told Lee, I said, oh, we're going to be rich. I said, we're going to be rich. I watched this one guy from Microsoft. You know, he's LGBTQ plus AWXYZ. He was on last yesterday. He knew his shit, but he was so annoying because when he was talking, he was condescending. You know, it was just like, you know how they talk. But he's like, yeah, this is probably brain overload, you know, just doing all that extra. But I'd rather watch you, and he's like a chief, engineer in Microsoft. But I had rather watch you a million times rather than watch
talk with y'all about your questions, concerns.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at this shit. So I mean, without no presentation, damn, I was mad.
That's okay. You were very personable. You knew your content. Yeah, you did. You were talking off the cuff. You were giving real life experience to make it relatable. Love the analogies. Yeah. So you did great. You did a wonderful job.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
We learn as we go along. I've been doing educational sessions for my students via Zoom. That's actually why I called you, but I got somebody else to do AI. So, but I'm learning too because I have no support. It's just me as a youth employment specialist, and marketing. Our marketing department is crap. So I have to do the Zoom, find the people who want to talk to my students virtually, all that. Set it up, send out the agenda, send out the email. So
yeah, set me up. I'll do one for you. I'll do one.
Omar, what I want you to do is I want you to go to Kenya with me and meet some of these tech people. They have tech conferences all the time because
I know
they are about it.
I know. I'm trying to I'm trying to get into the solar business in Africa. They said 600 million people will not ever get electric. I'm like, what?
No. So if you're trying to get into solar and just get some information, Emmanuel, my partner is Saquon, he's a solar technician.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, he's certified solar technician. So he has clients that he does on island because he's been doing it. He's got the whole farm off the grid. So if you just want to get some general information about solar, then I'll give you his number. But as far as going into international waters and talking about the tech world there, who they're so far more advanced than we are, then you let me know because I have a guy that he's an IT guy like you, and I can ask him what upcoming conferences is, and we can go. Because when they do it big. They're IT conferences.
What's this girl talking about?
Like you would normally go to a runway show or even a networking event. It was people came, they were able to eat, network, shop, mingle, live entertainment, but they were able to have a 3D experience. So we wanted to make it really user friendly because everyone had not experienced 3D before. Some people had never put on a headset. Some people thought headsets were only for gaming. We did not want to create a virtual world and create avatars of models. We really wanted it to be live elements, which is why we filmed in 3D instead of creating a virtual world and loading that into the headset instead. So we like the integration of mixed reality with virtual reality.
All right, let me finish watching this girl. So I'm gonna call y'all. I'll call y'all in a minute. I'm gonna send y'all the deck too.
Bring to the public so that people can still have.
Y'all gotta DM me though, so I can remember in my LinkedIn.
Because it's really all about experience. So I would love to, have, like I said, an engaging conversation or interactive conversation and not just talk at you. So I would love to know if y'all have any questions or any of y'all working in the VR component, VR with fashion or VR with any other industry, because we've been talking with people in sports. We were able to do a activation for a tech nonprofit focused on STEM, and we partnered with them, and they had Salesforce as a sponsor that helped cover the activation for us to come and present for them to help them raise money for their tech nonprofit and fundraising costs. So right now we have been doing VR activations or creating VR activations for clients that either have a STEM component or they have a interactive component that they would like to share with their audience to promote products and services. The cost for the people to attend our show, we made it $150, which technically was not expensive because depending on what kind of show you go to, because like example right now, it's Atlanta Fashion Week here in Atlanta. So I was at Atlanta Fashion Week yesterday, and that wasn't a cost to attend that show because you had to be invited by the designer. But if you are going to a fashion show benefiting a cause like National Black Arts Festival does a fashion show with Neiman Marcus, those tickets are $500 to $750. We made it really cost effective because it was our first show and it was really proof of concept. We wasn't trying to charge a crazy amount of money because we knew a lot of people wasn't even sure what they were walking into, and we wanted to make it easily accessible. When we did do the show also, we had our headsets synced. So that way nobody had to fumble with the handles of the VR headset. They literally sat down, put the headsets on their heads, and we pressed play from the computer, and every headset was able to play the show for everyone simultaneously. I'm reading the questions and answering as I go. So.
Thank you, baby. I'm mad my dang on what's the name didn't work.
Yes, okay. You still do.
I need a VR person for my app. We need to talk ASAP. Yes, my contact information I'll bring. Oh, it's still there on the screen. So please contact me. Yes. So we have actually been hired to show our own show for people that were like, hey, we want this innovation, we want this technology, but we don't have either the budget or we don't have the time frame to create our own original content. So we want to
money,
and show
money grab,
and
so everybody. It actually was kind of cool because now everybody who wants that free shit has to come to my
different tech components.
LinkedIn.
While we were there doing VR, somebody else was there doing a looking glass or drones or robotics. So we were the VR activation piece. Over the summer, we were able to partner with Science of Beauty, which is another tech nonprofit, and they had us come in and do a demo at Spelman College for the students so we can introduce them to this technology, show them how we created it, answer the questions, and kind of get into what it took behind the scenes to bring it all together. Next question, how's it been in this industry? Well, I haven't been in the tech part of the industry that long. So as of right now, what I'm finding,
people asking me all kind of questions.
I wouldn't say fails, but challenges are the challenges. People think the technology is really cool. They find it innovative, but the budget is not always there. And a lot of times the people that want us to create this experience don't necessarily have the budget. So what we're trying to do.
All right, this person asked, I completely understand. Quick question, if I may. What's your perspective and feedback on Toastmasters and public speaking? Who the fuck? Why you ask me that?
On my team, we actually have a very small team. It is really just me and my tech partner, as well as all of our team members, so to speak, that come on board to help us with these. So, like I said, I think the team of the show that was my team
I need a VR person. Big mouth motherfucker. Can you do it or not? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna call you when I get upstairs. I gotta shut it down here. Okay. Bye.
Like I said, I only showed y'all a snippet and then I showed y'all a recap of the actual event. But our show was 20 minutes from start to finish. We did not have people walking around, so they were seated because we know of the motion sickness that you can sometimes get if it's a walking VR activation. The cost really all depends on what are you trying to create. So we're talking with the client right now. They are wanting to create an experience that is almost like a mini movie, but in VR instead, because they're celebrating 50 years in business, and they kind of want to show what has happened in the last 50 years. And instead of taking people on a tour around the city to show all the things they've done for the last 50 years, they want to create a VR activation where the people feel like they went on a tour without actually leaving the venue. So we're talking with them about creating a VR activation to celebrate their 50 years in business. So it all just depends. A lot of it, of course, is it took us about a day of filming. So you have a full day of shooting and filming, that cost. Then you have the cost of us coming to do the VR theater, which is me and him coming to set up the VR headsets, troubleshoot, of course, play it. We played them in rounds. So we would show 25 people at one time. So example, our event was 3 to 6. So at 3:30, we had the first showing. We showed 25 people. 4 o'clock, 25 people. So that way we were able to show over 100 people the event. So it wasn't like we had 150 headsets. What we did is we timed it so that we were able to show multiple people without having 100 headsets. So it's really The cost is all going to depend on what are you trying to accomplish, how long does it take us to film it, how long does it take to edit? Edit takes about 2 weeks. Each headset does have to be loaded individually. Now we can play them all at one time. We have software that they will sync and play it all one time, but they do have to be loaded individually, each headset. So that's time consuming. We were able to produce this show on a shoestring budget. And like I said, a lot of that goes back to the relationships I already had from the fashion industry. So, like example, we were able to get the venue where we did the activation. They were a sponsor because they wanted to partner. Bloomingdale's came on as a sponsor and they cut us a check. And in exchange for the check, not only did they support the show by letting us provide clothes in the show, like lending me the clothes to take out the store without paying for them, but they also had us in store to do an activation, and they set it up for us that as customers were walking by, we got to show the customers in store the VR activation that wasn't invited to our private event. So we had a few other sponsors that paid to be there, to be included. They had like a 30-second or 1 minute ad within the VR headset. So, ultimately it is like a mini movie, but in VR. And that mini movie can be fashion. It could be, whatever it is that you want it to be. So within that, we had a few ads from the different sponsors. That's what they paid for, as well as they had access to our guest list, and they were able to market their products and service to our guest list. Again, my background is accounting, so the numbers did need to make sense. Sometimes I feel like as creatives, we get so caught up in being creative, we don't make sure that the numbers make sense as far as breaking even or profit margins. But this show, we were able to produce it because we did not take revenue from it. Just the cost of the show itself without our profits was $12,000. Yes, I really thought about all the angles, all of the different plots. Like I said, we did have general admission as well as VR, and general admission got the 2D version of the show, which was just playing on a TV monitor. But of course, when you got to the show, FOMO, fear of missing out when you saw everybody coming out of the VR room, because the venue we had was a 360 room, so we were able to have people come in, and there was a space for the networking, the food, a space for the VR, and a space for the shopping. So people that saw the VR show came out and was like, "Oh my God, that was so cool!" So on site, we had a lot of the general admission upgrades on the day of with our check-in girls, so that they could see the VR headset. So we're actually to increase sales on the day of the event, because we offer you to be able to upgrade if you didn't buy the VIP ticket to the event. So we really tried to think of everything that was gonna highlight these Black women-owned designers, highlight Bloomingdale's as our corporate sponsor, highlight our sponsors as well, and give them a really cool experience and activation. Like I said, I've been doing this a long time as far as the fashion space, and just networking and going to events, producing events for other clients. So really new as far as production, how I wanted it to be, how I wanted the experience to be for the consumers, how I wanted to engage them. And like I said, really make it user friendly, because a lot of the people that came to our event were like, "Oh, my kids have a VR headset, they play games on it," or "I have a relative that plays golf or sports on it. I've never seen it used for anything else. I've never used it personally." So we didn't want to make it where they had to create an avatar to be a part, or they had to go to the metaverse or Decentraland. We wanted to make it really user friendly for our first one, and then as we work with clients that want a little bit more elevated or more in depth, we can start adding on layers like AI, shopping within the headset, and other factors that you may want to add on to make your event different. Yes, thank you. Yeah, we wanted people to not fear, like we've all seen iRobot and all these movies where like the robots are gonna come and take over, or we're gonna lose control. So we really wanted to show how tech can be used, with us engaging with tech, not being scared of it, but also showing how it can be used as a benefit and not a replacement, because so many people are concerned about being replaced by tech, and that fear is making them not engage in tech or learn about tech, to be able to use it to benefit their business or add another component to their business, or to scale and grow their business. Like I said, for me, I've been an entrepreneur and a business owner for a long time. So you have to constantly pivot, elevate, grow, and figure out how do you keep your clients engaged, how do you get new clients, and you can't keep doing the same thing. You kind of have to reinvent what you're doing without, getting outside of what I do. At the end of the day, I'm not gonna go and do something outside of the scope of, fashion and personal styling to a degree. Now, of course, we are creating activations that don't involve fashion as far as the VR and technology, but I knew that when I got into the technology space, I would use it for fashion, personal style, and retail first before I would take it to other sectors and other industries. VR would also be great for like tourism. If you could go, or you're a travel agent, and you could show clients not just a video of a resort in the Maldives or whatnot, but they could actually put on a headset and feel like, hey, I'm at the resort in the Maldives. Then you might be able to book more bookings, engage them to want to book quicker, sooner. Real estate, we have the virtual tours you can do from your phone. What if you felt like you was actually in the home? Because when you do the virtual tours on your phone, sometimes it's like, oh, I'm gonna go up the stairs, and you're not able to move around or maneuver like you would like. But with real estate, if you had it as a VR headset, you could go in the house and feel like you were actually inside the house touring through the VR headset. So really trying to open people's eyes on how they can elevate their current business.
I'm not playing, man. You gotta clean up down here. Vacuum clean style.
Their audience in a new and innovative way with technology. And we're just using the VR component more than we're using it. So we used the MetaQuest 2 at the time, and then we've got MetaQuest 3. Originally, when we first did this show, again, like I said, operating on a shoestring budget, we did not own our headset. I created an app some years ago, so I knew that you could rent iPads, and I rented them for my app release. So when it came to the VR headset, I was like, how are we going to get these headsets for this show, because they're $299 a piece. That's basically, $300 per person, and we have 100 people coming to attend this event. But I looked back up the company I rented the iPad from, and come to find out, they rented out VR headsets, and they rented it out for like $30 per headset. So that was way cheaper than buying $300 headset. So at the time when we did the show, we rented the headsets for less than $1,000 and was able to, produce this event, load the headsets, erase all of our content before we sent them back. Since then, of course, we have bought the software to sync it, because even with that, the software company let us use it as a test. So they didn't charge me a license, being able to sync all the headsets and play at once. They let us use it as a test, so we didn't have to actually pay for the license. Since then, though, we have bought all the headsets that we use when companies